and your officers were at the centre of some ugly protests against the World Economic Forum in Melbourne in 2000.
That's correct.
How would you rate the likelihood of violence this week at APEC in Sydney?
I would say that history will tell us it's a certainty.
Why do you think that?
Well, when you take any of the G summits across the world, Seattle, Washington, Melbourne, it's always been that there's been violence there. Now, history tells us too that the amount of violent demonstrations in Australia are not that many. You go back to the Vietnam demonstrations, then you had the BLF demonstrations, and then you had the Richmond Secondary College, the World Economic Forum, and then unfortunately G20, which I did warn the Chief Commissioner would happen, and she didn't believe me, and that's why I resigned and got out.
So you weren't there for the G20?
I wasn't there for the G20.
How would you deal with someone like Paddy in the run-up to APEC?
You know,
if he turns up at the demonstration and does what he says he's going to do, what would you do as a police officer?
Look, at demonstrations, I can understand that there might be people there with a genuine protest who get caught into it because of the International Socialist Organisation, the S11 Alliance and the anarchists, who use those people that think they're there for a reasonable reason as cannon fodder and push them forward, and then those people get hurt when the police have to react. Now, for a man that says he's done nothing wrong, I can understand anyone being caught out on one occasion. If you've been arrested on 8 separate occasions, whether you're convicted or not, I think your integrity on a scale of 1 to 10 is a big fat 0.
Disagree with the magistrates that have dismissed my charges. Disagree with the magistrates that have criticised police violence that has been used to break up the demonstrations that I was involved in on a number of occasions. You're saying these magistrates were wrong in those cases to dismiss my charges, sir?
I would suggest, although I can't prove it, that magistrates are selected after the issues are over to make very clear and stupid decisions.
Well, that's a big call, Jeff. That's a big call.
That's an accurate one.
Can I ask you a specific question, though?
Yeah.
There were formal complaints against your squad after the protests in Melbourne in 2000 at the World Economic Forum.
That's correct.
The Victorian government actually settled a group action that was launched. Are you prepared to acknowledge that police sometimes overstep the mark?
I'm prepared to say that they're trained on we were trained on a regular basis at one stage, and they're trained to put up with all the spitting and the stuff thrown at them. But look, at some stage, you've got to remember that some of these policemen are very young, and it's a pretty traumatic experience having people throwing stuff at you. And okay, some of them are going to go a little bit over the top.
Well, let's have a look at some footage of what happened with the police at that different demonstration to the one we saw before. Do you think that's acceptable? That kind of, climbing over a fence to actually hit protesters with batons? Do you think that's okay?
That was investigated by the Ombudsman, and those members were cleared. And the reason they was there was a woman who's always at the demonstration. She was in a wheelchair, and I directed one of the sergeants to make sure he got over the barrier and protect her so that when the police came out, she wasn't knocked over. Now, he got knocked to the ground, and those officers were trying to keep people away from him. And that was investigated by the Ombudsman, and they were all cleared. You were implying before, though, that you think police behaviour, bad police behaviour, is provocation only. Do you think sometimes the police